But I believe we ought to live by some set of beliefs or creeds or principles or values. And these rules I wrote down kind of do that. One of the things, Betty, that I learned is no matter what you do or how hard you try, you can't make everybody happy and everybody ain't going to love you. That's just a fact. And I spent at least 50 years of my life trying to satisfy everybody, be all things to all people, make everybody happy, satisfy everything. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. Now, when I was about 30 years old, you talking about volunteers? Looking for volunteers? I volunteered. I volunteered to be manager of the universe. Y'all didn't know that? For 20-something years, I volunteered to be manager of the universe. I was responsible for solving all the problems. Got a problem, bring it to Rodney. I'll take care of it. Well, about 40 years passed, and I looked around, and the universe was more screwed up than ever before. So I decided to resign, and I resigned as manager of the universe. And instead, I decided I was going to become a candle lighter. A candle lighter. And I was going to try to light one candle at a time in the dark corners of the world. One candle at a time, one situation at a time, one person at a time. Lord, I am only one. I can't do everything. No, but you are one. And I gave you gifts and graces and talents and energies and abilities and potential that make you unique into the whole wide world. Over 7 billion people in this world, and ain't nobody else like you. Nobody else like you. One of a kind. One of a kind. Each one endowed by our Creator with the opportunity not to manage the universe and not to be all things to all people, but to light candles in the darkness, one at a time, by using our God-given grace, our talents, our energies, our abilities, and our resources. Another thing that I had to accept is no two people are exactly alike. People are different. Well, that threatened me for a while because I thought everybody should be just like me. I thought everybody should be just like me. And a lot of times we all spend too much of our time trying to make other people over in our own image. We waste so many years sometimes trying to make other people over in our own image. Accept the fact that people are different. I had a good friend, Dr. Willie Stokes, that Betty knows well, that worked with me in Pebble schools, and he always said the reason they make chocolate and vanilla are because people are different. People are different. And having lived all over the world, I have found that we are more alike than we are different, but we are different. We are different. When I was speaking to these Catholic teachers down at St. Patrick's High School on the way to the coast, I always use a quote when I speak to teachers at the beginning of the school years from Helen Keller. And Helen Keller said, I believe every child has hidden away within them noble capacities waiting to be brought out if only we know how to go about doing it. She didn't say, I believe some children have noble capacities. She said, I believe every child has noble capacities waiting to be brought out if only we know how to go about doing it. Well, I'm going to take that a little bit further. I believe every human being, every child of God has noble capacities instilled, endowed with them, waiting to be brought out. Waiting to be brought out. And each of us need to look around every day. How can I make a difference? How can I make a difference for having been given the gift of life? Where can I light candles in the darkness? How can I bear good fruit? And I think we need to think about that every day. I believe more people rust out than wear out. My grandma had that saying, she gave me that saying, more people rust out than wear out. And that's true for body, mind, and spirit. Use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. I turned 70, I got my 70 in Sunday. Caught up with you, Mike. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. 70, my biblical 70, I got that in. Everything else is icing on the cake, John. Icing on the cake, you know? And I'm so grateful for that. But it doesn't matter how old we are. It doesn't matter how old we are. I know some people that are old at 30 and some who are young at 80. You know, I truly believe that. But in every season of our life, we have the opportunity to keep on growing. To keep on growing. I go to the YMCA and pedal 2 hours every morning. That's how I start my morning. I call it Dr. Left Foot, Dr. Right Foot. And I try to keep up with the 80-year-olds in there. Yeah. And mind, body, spirit. I write. I still write. I've written over 1,000 columns for the Hattiesburg American over the years in several different magazines, you know. It keeps my mind active. It keeps my mind active. I come and speak to groups like this, and to not only to share what I have, but see, you renew my spirit. You renew my spirit for just being here sharing with you. I've learned over the years that you need to let your faith be stronger than your fear. You need to let your faith be stronger than your fear. There's a lot of things that motivate us as we travel through the seasons of life. Money, power, acclaim, prestige, sex, all those things motivate people. But the greatest motivator in the world is fear. The greatest motivator in the world is fear. How many of you have ever wanted to try something, risk something, try something new, but because of your fear of failing or your fear of what other people might think about you, you never did it? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Yeah. And when you fail to make a decision based on your fear, it shapes the quality and direction of your life every bit as much as if you had made the decision. You have to decide, am I going to live by faith or am I going to live by fear? Am I going to live by faith in my dreams? If I'm going to live by faith in my goals? Am I going to live by faith in my beliefs? Or am I going to let my life be controlled by fear? You have to make that choice. I've also found that in the morning, when we get up, we tend to find what we look for. If we get up looking for good things, the odds are we're going to find some good things. If we get up in the morning expecting bad things to happen, it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Our minds shape our... Let me tell you a story. There was a nursing home director that was talking to new nurses aid trainees, and she had them all in a big room like this, and she said, some of the people that we work with can be quite challenging. Let me tell you about a person I work with every day. This person has no control over their bodily functions. This person cannot feed themselves. This person cries out all hours of the day and night. This person requires full-time care. How many of you would find it difficult working with a person like that? I want you all to raise your hand. Be honest. How many of you would find it difficult working with a person like that? And most of the nurses' aides raised their hands. And the nursing home director said, well, I can't understand your attitude. I'm talking about my 3-month-old baby at the house. Whoa. That we would gladly and lovingly do for one, we would find difficult doing for another. Why? Because of our attitude. because of our attitude. You find what you look for in life. If you're looking for good things, they're out there. This old world's getting harder. I pray for my grandchildren every night in the world that they're going to have to live in. But there's still good things out there. There's good things. And you can make good things happen. You can make good things happen. Here's one that I'm going to get in trouble with, okay? I've given over 1,000 sermons in just about every kind of church you can possibly think of over the years. I've got one sermon called There Ain't No Christians. But there's part-time Christians, sometimes Christians, wannabe Christians, convenient for me Christians, but very few of us can say that we're full-time 100% Christians. I believe that relationship is more important than religion. I believe that relationship is more important than religion. You're going to the Ukraine. I've spent almost a year over there working in schools and orphanages and all that, and I pass out guardian angel cards everywhere I go, laminated guardian angel cards. And people say, "What religion are you?" And really what they're asking me is, what denomination am I? And I said, I don't want to talk about religion. I don't want to talk about denomination. I want to talk about relationship. What is your relationship with God? What is your personal relationship with your beliefs, with your faith? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So I ask you today, in this season of your life, you're members of Hattiesburg Baptist, but what is your personal relationship with God? What is your personal relationship? I think we Christians all too often do a better job of talking the talk than we do walking the walk. I think we do a better job of talking the talk than we do walking the walk. Some of us get the plum disease, P-L-O-M. Some of you, most of us. Brother Scott, have you ever had the plum disease? Come up here just a second. You're about to demonstrate it. Okay. There are certain symptoms that come with the plum disease, okay? Cross your hands, arms. Stick your bottom lip out. Hang your head. Most people that have the plum disease wind up looking like Brother Scott looks right now. All right. Now, thank you very much. First time they've ever seen that on you, right? P-L-O-M, poor little old me. I got the poor little old me disease. Nobody loves me. I don't have what other people have. You know, I'm not happy. Poor little old me. Poor little old me. My daddy was an infantry company commander. He raised me as a private. Took me all over the world when I was growing up. Lived in Japan for 3 years, Alaska for 3 years, various places. But I had to bounce a quarter off my bed every morning when I got up before I could leave to go to school. We live on 17th Avenue South, not too far from here. And he walked by my room one day, and I was sitting down with, and I had the plum disease, you know. And he looked at me and said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I ain't got nothing to do." He said, "Son, you need to get off your rear end and go out into the world, because the world's not coming to you. You need to get off your rear end and go out into the world, because the world's not coming to you." The only person that you really have total control over is who? Yourself. Yourself. We cannot abdicate our well-being. We cannot abdicate the quality of our lives to somebody else. We've got to take responsibility for that. My daughter Robbie is, Miss Betty taught her. Can I say? Boom! I told you I had that big old voice. My daughter Robbie, who Miss Betty taught, is in her 21st year of teaching, and she teaches special needs children. And I go and help her with them sometimes. And some of these children cannot feed themselves. They have a feeding tube. They have no verbal skills. They can't walk. They can't talk. They can't do anything. And here we are with the plum disease. 2 hands, 2 feet, able to feed ourselves, all right. You know, all these God-given gifts and graces. We don't have the right to have the plum disease. We don't have the right to have the poor little old disease. We've got to get off our backside and go out there and make the most of every day. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let us bear good fruit. Let us light candles in the darkness. Let us make a difference for having lived. That's the kind of attitude that we need to get up with every morning. Now, Brother Scott, I know it's not true for Hardy Street Baptist, but in some groups you can categorize every member of the group as 4 different kinds of bones, okay? You've got some people that are the wish bones. You know, boy, I wish this would happen, or I wish this was different, or I wish we could get this done. Some of them are the jawbones. Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it. Some of them are the tailbones. All they want to do is sit on their seat of learning and wait for somebody else to do it. But fortunately, you have the backbones. You have the backbones, and those are the ones that get the job done. Those are the ones who say, "Here I am, send me." Those are the ones that you can count on. Those are the ones that you can depend on. And I know everybody in Hardy Street Baptist is like that. I know everyone in Hardy Street Baptist is like that. Here I am, call on me. Here I am, send me. I was baptized in Bay Springs Baptist many years ago. I was the youth director at Bay Springs Baptist. I went through catechism at Hardy Street Lutheran Church, been sprinkled in the Methodist Church, preached not too long ago in the Church of God, preached in the Unitarian Church over here by the high school. I go to just about every kind of church that you can possibly think of and take the same message. I prayed in a blue mosque in Istanbul. And somebody said, "You prayed in a mosque?" I said, "What better place to take Jesus?" What better place to take Jesus than the mosque? John Wesley had a saying. He said, "We all need to do all the good we can to all the people we can in all the ways we can for as long as we ever can." Lord, I'm only one. I can't do everything. No, but you are one, and you can do something. You can do something regardless of the season of your life. I've got 2 more quick stories. Have I got time for that? Because I don't have a clock. There was a missionary in India, and he was trying to raise money to build a new church, and he had all the people in the village gathered together in the building that they were using, and he was speaking to him, and all of a sudden the back door opened, and the richest woman in the village walked into the back of the building and sat down. And he said, "Well, this is an opportunity. You know, this is an opportunity. Maybe we can get some help to build this church." And he started talking, and he talked for a little while, and all of a sudden she got up and she left, Ken. She went out the back door. And he was thinking to himself, well, you know, that didn't go as well as I hoped it would go. But he kept on talking, and a little while later, before he finished, the door opened and a woman came back in and sat down in the back of the church again. And after the building, and after the meeting, he met everybody at the back door, and as she came out, he said, "I'm so glad you came today. We really appreciate you being here. But if you don't mind me asking, why did you get up and leave, and come back?" And she said, "Well, I listened to what you had to say. And then I got up and I went to your house. And I asked your maid, does he live like he talks? Does he live like he talks?" And she said, "Yes, so I came back." And she said, "Yes, so I came back." Do we live like we talk? Do we live like we talk? The last story. China was a closed society for many, many, many years. Closed the doors. Nobody could come into China. But finally, in the 60s, they opened their doors and they began inviting different people into the country. Medical people, business people, political people, and they even opened the door to missionaries. And different groups went over there, and there was one missionary who decided he would go over there and he would try to see what the conditions were, and he would take photographs and get a slide presentation together so he could come back and meet with groups like this and show the slide presentation and help to raise money for the mission in China. And everywhere he went when he got over there, he found evidence of need and deprivation and people in tough circumstances, and he took pictures. He took pictures everywhere he went, but he just didn't have that one photograph that would kind of be a centerpiece for his presentation, until finally he was in a small village. And as he walked down the streets of that village, he saw a narrow alleyway, and the sun was shining down like a ray of sunshine into that alleyway, and it shone right onto a little street child, a homeless child, in rags and open sores, and her hair was matted, no shoes on her feet, and she had gone to sleep in front of a store window pane, and she had her face and her hands pressed up against that window pane, and he couldn't tell what it was behind that window pane, but he walked down that alley and he looked, and it was a bakery, and behind that glass window were fresh loaves of bread and cakes and cookies and pies, all beyond her reach. And that shaft of light was shining down from heaven upon her in that pose. And he got that camera, and he got his light just right, and he took that picture of that little girl. And when he got back to America, he began showing his slide presentation to everyone, and of all the need, and everybody would come up and say, "Oh, that picture of that little girl, that was a perfect centerpiece for your presentation." Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. Everywhere he went. Until finally he went into one small church, and he gave his presentation, and he showed his slides. And a lot of people came down and said, "Oh, you did a great job putting that presentation together. And that little picture of that little girl, oh, that was perfect. You did such a good job." Thank you. Until one elderly gentleman came walking down the aisle after everybody else. And he said, "Can I ask you one question?" And the missionary said, "Sure." And the elderly gentleman said, "What did you do?" And the missionary said, "I'm sorry, sir, I don't understand your question." He said, "What did you do for that little girl?" And all of a sudden, he didn't feel so good. Because you know what he did, don't you? He took that picture and he turned around and he walked away. "Lord, I am only one. I can't do everything." No, but you are one. Nobody else like you. Wonderfully made, one of a kind. And I put you here to bear good fruit. I put you here to light candles in the darkness. I put you here to make a difference for having lived. I put you here to share my love. One person at a time. One situation at a time. That's my message. Let us walk the walk together as good as we talk the talk. God bless you and thank you for letting me be with you.
How about that? Thank you.